we're going to be starting equations. Our previous chapter was algebra, so we do have algebra inside also this chapter, but now the equations just really means that we have an equal sign and there's something else on the right-hand side of all that algebra. We can actually get real answers now, like x is equal to 2. So if I look at the word equality, that just means a true or false statement. Means equal or not equal to. We are focusing on that one that involves with the equal sign, okay, which gives our equation, meaning this side is equal to this side of the equation, and we're going to work on that. Right, we're talking about finding the value of, in this case, an equation is solved by finding the value of the variable. Now in this case, we're only going to ever have one variable per question at a time. There are many ways to solve the equations. Now trial and error, we use inverse operations, hiding and covering up. This definitely elementary school. You've done all kinds of stuff like this already to lead into your algebra skills and your equation skills. So as basic as 2 plus something is equal to, let's say, 5. So you'd either inverse operation, you would say 5 minus 2 is equal to 3. You would basically count maybe like 2 plus another 1 plus another 1 plus another 1, trial and error until you get the number 5. Hiding and covering something up. So let's say you actually had 5 things, and you cover up, let's say, the 2 things, well, what's left over, right, would be your answer. So we've done all kinds of things like this in previous math knowledge. We're going to really focus on the equivalent equation method. And this method is really keeping everything balanced like a scale. So for example, as simple as if I have a very rough looking scale, so I have a scale on this side and a scale on this side. If I already have 10 pounds on each scale, it means it's balanced. That means if I actually add a little +2 on this side, and we're going to think this is my equal sign to keep things balanced. If I add 2 on this side, I must also add a little 2 on the other side to keep it really balanced. So keep that in mind whenever we're doing solving equations. What you do on one side, you must do to the other side. When we're solving equations, we are isolating the variable to one side. That means you want to get rid of everything else. Most of the time, it's always on the left-hand side. Very few students will actually do the opposite side, but most of the time we always want to have as a final statement, we want to see x is equal to something here, okay? So for example, we really do start really baby steps to get started. And that means balancing method. A big trick that I like to show students is take your highlighter, put a little highlighter down the middle, because you want to have a left and right hand side of your question at all times. Now my x is already on the left hand side, so it makes my life a little bit easier. It's already there. So I want to make sure that I can get rid of that +8. The only way to get rid of a +8, to make it invisible, I want to get rid of it, would be then putting it with a opposite, a negative, because +8 and -8 give you 0, so it disappears. If I put this -8 on this side, I must also do the same thing to this side. So therefore, if I highlight it in a different color here so you can see it, if I put that -8 on this side, I must do the same thing to this side to keep everything balanced. So in my final step, x is equal to, because these, like I said, these two got canceled, is equal to, and then just solve. 15 minus 7 is equal to 8. I know you can do mental math in this question, but really do every single step, okay? Even though they're really just baby steps. The second page. So we are going to go through little baby steps here, one-step questions, and show you the different ways that we can approach it. Now on this one here, same idea. I want to get rid of that minus 6. So I'm going to add a little plus 6 to get rid of it. If I put a plus 6 on this side, I must do the same thing on that side. So y is equal to, these guys get canceled, and I'm left with y is equal to 16. End of question. Same idea with multiplication. So I'm giving you one little example of each one. So the opposite of multiplying here, so if I take this, the opposite of multiplying something would be actually dividing, because my objective is that I really want y, really like a 1y. Really, y is equal, there's nothing else around it at all. I don't want to see anything. So in order for me to get rid of the 3 stuck on the y up top, which is multiplying, the opposite of that would be dividing. So when I say 3 divided by 3 is 1y. If I divide it by 3 on the left-hand side, I must do the same thing to the right-hand side. So 18 divided by 3 here would be 6. So nice and clean would just be y is equal to 6. Same kind of example, but just be careful with your negatives, okay? So same idea, use that highlighter. The opposite of multiplying by the negative 2 would be dividing by the exact same number. So make sure that you put that negative on both sides. Negative 2 divided by negative 2 is really 1x is equal to negative 8. Remember your integer rules. I really don't need, obviously, that 1 in front. So it's just x is equal to negative 8. Another example, the last operation to focus on would be division. So remember, this is, if I make it a little bit neater, whoops, if I make this question, right, my division sign there, it does look kind of weird, my big 4 there with the line, but really this is this, right? Now the opposite of dividing by something, I would put that multiplication on top. So if I'm putting this on top, multiply by 4 on each side. So 4 divided by 4 again would be 1x, so just x. 2 divided by 4 here would be 8. You can always go back and check, right, your work. You can always take that 8, go back and plug it in. 8 divided by 4, it 2. It works, it's perfect. Same idea on this side. Again, just be careful with your negative 3. So the opposite of negative 3 division would be multiplying by 3 on top. Same thing on this side. So if you multiply on this side, you have to do the same thing on this side. So negative 3 divided by negative 3 is x, 1x. 7 divided by, multiplied by 3 would be 21, and it's actually a negative 21. Again, you can go plug that number in, right? So negative 21, go plug that in. 21 divided by 3 is 7. Negative negative is a positive 7, so it's perfect. Now there is a third page to this lesson. Again, here I'm just going to go put all my as straight as possible. Put in my highlighter. And I'm going to start. Now these are double steps. So these ones happen to be 2 steps. You do have a little trick. My trick is stuck on X is always last. So therefore, don't worry about this guy yet. Just rewrite it. I want to get rid of the plus 1. So plus 1, the opposite, negative 1, negative 1, you put on both sides. So notice how this is exactly the same as this. This is exactly the same as this. The only thing that got changed was negative 1 on each side. And you're picking on negative 1 because you really want positive 1 gone by putting a negative 1. So 2x, 1 and 1 are gone. 5 minus 1 would be a 4 here. Last step, like the previous page, The opposite of multiplying by 2 is dividing each side by 2. X is equal to 2. Question 2. Negative 4a minus 4, get rid of the 4, plus 4. Plus 4 on each side. Those are gone. You must show all your steps always. This is going to give you a 20. Your next step, you want a, remember, you want a all by itself at the bottom. So the opposite of how to get rid of this guy, negative 4 here, multiplication. The opposite of that is divide by the same number on each side. Negative 4 would give you a 1a. 20 divided by 4, negative positive, would be a negative 5. So a is equal to negative 5. Obviously, this step here is an extra step. I'm just trying to emphasize that it is a 1 there. Third step. Here I can definitely do algebra before I even start working on equations. I always want to clean everything up as much as possible. So I want clean algebra before I actually start doing the concepts of this chapter. So where I can put things together to make it smaller, do so. So here I have a negative 5b plus 60 equal sign on the highlighter. And 60 minus 30 would definitely be 30. So I've made it already in one step. I've done algebra. I've put that together, I've put this together, and I'm already back to like exactly the top of the page questions. So negative 5b plus 60, get rid of the 60, minus 60. Oh, I was about to forget putting my minus 60 on that side. So minus 5b, 60s are gone. 30 minus 60 would give you a negative 30 left over. The opposite of multiplying by 5 is dividing each side by 5. B, because negative 5 division is B, 1b, is equal to a positive 6 as a final answer. If ever you do, you can always, like I said, go back and take that 6 and plug it in to see if it actually works. Just be careful you don't make a mistake going back and checking your work. Number 4, back to a baby 2-step question, right? So 3, the only thing here is I do have a double in my fraction, right? So negative 6 plus 6. So I want to get rid of minus 6 plus 6. My objective is to get rid of this guy. 3 over 2x. 6 plus 6 is 12 on this side. Now, 2 ways you can approach this question. You could definitely take that fraction, divide it out. It's a nice clean fraction, right? 3 divided by 2, 1.5. And then divide both sides by 1.5 to get your x is equal to, I better just check my math here on my calculator, 12 divided by 1.5. I believe it's an 8. I'm just going to check. 1.5. Yep, it's a perfect 8. So x is equal to 8. That's one way of approaching the question. I'm going to back up here. You could also do this. I'm just going to back up. Remember, I can actually just take that fraction. I can take this fraction and do the reciprocal. Flip it to the other side. Because what's happening is here, if I'm in this one, okay, if I am dividing by 2, the opposite of dividing by 2 is multiplying by 2. The opposite of multiplying here by the 3 is, getting rid of it, is divide by 3. Look what happens. I flip the fraction over, but if I then proceed to say 2 times 3 is 6, 3 times 2 is 6, that really gives me a 1x, which is really x all the way at the end. So just take this fraction, other side, 2 over 3. So you're doing the reciprocal of that fraction. That's another way of doing it. So 12 times 2 is 24 divided by 3. There you go. X is equal to 8. Same answer as before. And that's it for lesson number 11.